Welcome to the FNO InsureTech podcast, a place where movers and shakers from all points within the insurance ecosystem gather and discuss all things InsureTech. Here are your hosts, Lee Boyd and Rob Beller.
Hey, podcast world, welcome to a winter edition
cold
of FNO InsureTech, our, 7th or 8th Christmas version that we've had.
Yeah. Where's our Christmas at? I don't even have on Christmas shoes. I don't have on anything Christmassy.
Christmas and nothing right here.
I have nothing. I have a red mug. Can that work?
Okay. All right. That's cool.
Do you remember one time whenever we did a Christmas episode and we actually had on, I think I had an elf hat, you had a Santa hat, we had a big Christmas party. It was pre-COVID.
I remember one time one Christmas where we had you in an elf costume.
Which I may or may not still have.
I already know the answer to that. Sitting on the roof of the 470 building, making snow.
Yeah.
And
yeah, it's snowing. It's magic
Christmas
snow.
Geek nerd that you are.
I mean, I got up there at 6:30 in the morning. It was cold. I got up there at 6:30 in the morning to surprise everybody as they drove into the office with a little Christmas magic. And we had music going and the grill was going and we shut down later that day for a Christmas party. It was epic. But
I do think that since your major Christmas nerd days, you've gotten a little more Grinchy. You're a little.
You think I've gotten more Grinchy? Hint snow?
Continuum between the Christmas nerd that was sitting on the roof in an elf costume at one end of that continuum and the Grinch at the other end. You're definitely trending towards the Grinch.
I don't have anywhere. Well, I don't have anywhere to do. Like nobody expects me to show up. I don't work with people anymore. I'm here. I guess I could have shown up today with you and our guest in my elf costume.
You could have.
Wait, we'll see what. We might have one more recording before.
It might. And plus, just full disclosure, we'll be publishing this episode in January.
Yeah.
So by the time everybody hears it, nobody's going to want to talk about Christmas. They'll be done with it. They've had enough.
They'll be thinking, why are they talking about Christmas? It's over.
So why don't we do to that? You know what? In January, you and I are going to be world travelers.
We are. We're back in London. We're heading back to ITC London.
Go in January.
We love it. I don't know why we go in January when it's cold and rainy and have to
cold and rainy.
You have to bring a giant bag because your coats. But we're back. We're back.
Last year on a cold January day, we watched the changing of the guards. Remember?
I do remember that. And it was kind of out of the blue that we did that, right? It was
random. And remember, the king landed in a helicopter while we were.
Yeah, he flew over, and they changed the flag.
And then he drove out.
Yeah, while they're playing and he didn't wave or anything. He just went.
It was remarkable.
It was crazy. But we're back over there, and we're going to be over there. ITC London is the 26th and 27th of January, and it's a great event. So if you need a reason to go to London, or you are in London, we want to recommend that you go. Rob and I will be there. We're going to be doing some interviews during the event. We're going to be doing some interviews later on in the week. If you are listening to this and you feel as though you have a story that needs to be told or wants to be told, or we would love to interview you. Just let us know. Write on in, and Israel will take care of you.
We'll be in London for ITC London, and those dates again, Lee?
26th and 27th.
Of January. So
at the brewery, I believe.
Today, speaking of people who come from the British Isles, we have a fabulous guest today.
Oh, fantastic guest.
I mean, sometimes we are able to arrange for remarkable people in our industry to be on our podcast. Today is one of those days. We have Tracie Thompson, global head of strategic clients at Cytora,
Yeah.
with a resume that you can't believe, here on the podcast.
I mean, she has been in the industry, has seen so much. Cytora is a fantastic company who's doing some amazing things in the AI technology space for underwriting, for kind of the ecosystem. I'm excited for her to tell you about that. And then we dive in. We kind of nerd out a little bit on AI and technology and what it means. And then we get to learn a little bit more about her and her past in the insurance industry. It's a great interview.
And looking at it from the perspective of somebody who's been in the industry a long time, seen a tremendous number of things, worked in a number of different really important positions, global head of crisis management at AIG during the financial crisis. I mean, Tracy has a resume that will make your eyes pop.
Yeah.
But her insights, her viewpoints, you have to hear.
So let's hear it.
Without further ado, let's get to our recording with Tracie Thompson, Global Head of Strategic Clients at Cytora. Hey, everybody, we're here with somebody who I consider a really special guest, Tracie Thompson, Global Head of Strategic Clients at Cytora. That's a big title. What does a Global Head of Strategic Clients do? Well, first of all, before I ask you that, welcome to the podcast.
Welcome.
It's great to have you here.
Thank you. It's good to be here and good to spend time with you both.
Yeah, I hear it's snowing in New York, or it was snowing.
Well, it's icing right now.
Nobody likes the ice. Nobody likes the ice.
No. There's nobody outside.
But it is Christmas time. We're recording this. You got a lot of people probably around looking at the Christmas tree. How is it in New York during Christmas time?
Pretty busy with tourists and the two main Christmas trees being Wall Street, and that's in the FiDi, by the way.
A little further down, Rob.
Wall Street and Rockefeller is where the Christmas trees are. They're pretty beautiful. But if you get there at 6 a.m., there's nobody around, which is always nice.
That's the time to go.
Are you an ice skater? Do you go ice
No,
skating?
I run. I don't ice skate. Running is as fast as I go.
Let's jump right in. Tracy, you're the Global Head of Strategic Clients at Cytora. Share with us, what's that job and what is Cytora? Tell us a little bit about the company.
So, yeah, let me tell you about Cytora, and then I suppose my role will make an element of sense. So Cytora is a platform that digitizes the intake of submissions and data to create decision-ready risks for predominantly underwriters and feeding into downstream core systems. So it's not a point solution. It's kind of end to end as you think about the underwriting process from broker to that underwriting decision. And it crosses most lines within the insurance industry and also across different types of insurance, reinsurance, facultative, claims. So whilst we talk about, I think we perhaps limit ourselves by talking around submissions and decision-ready risks, because we do cross transactions across the entire ecosystem of insurance. And it really is ingesting the data, augmenting the data, enriching the data. So I come from underwriting, so it's everything an underwriter will need getting to their desktop to be able to underwrite the risk and assess all the exposures. And it's built on an AI platform.
Oh, so would it be AI native? Is that what we would say?
Yeah.
Okay. And so you're basically taking all of the data, and at any aspect of the life of a policy, you're going to be able to use that data. Is that right?
So it's on the submission.
Submission.
The first, risk information coming through or claims information coming through to get to underwriter. We do not underwrite the risk. Okay. The underwriter needs to underwrite the risk, but it really is kind of uncoupling all that data, distilling it down to how a particular insurer wants to look at their risk. And as we know, we're in the insurance industry, appetites differ, guidelines differ, clearances differ. And again, we make it specific to whatever that insurer wants. and we bring all that data. And if they're going, if you're thinking about, building and thinking about a forecasting, etc., and if they're using a company called Moody's, and if they want that data, we will augment the submission with that automatically to feed into their downstream system, whether it's a pricing system or a CRM system or a PMS system.
So your system makes the life of the underwriter a lot better.
A lot easier.
A lot easier. Right?
Yeah. And it's not, I suppose this is talking to the quality of Cytora, which is important, but it's not a black box. So the underwriter, so at any time you can see why the LLM chose a specific data point, kind of that chain of thought reasoning behind it. So it is not, we're not asking underwriters, and this is where perhaps underwriters get a bit nervous and a bit, cautionary around it, where they just have data coming in and they have no line of sight of where it came from, the why. Would I have chosen that? And so there's a bit of a lead time into getting them to those confidence levels. But again, everything is around the specific clients we deal with and what they need to underwrite that risk. So it's pretty cool. It's almost like the underwriting assistant role, if you will.
Yeah.
I love that.
Taking all the and distilling it for decision making to occur.
Yeah, and I think, when you think about the industry, and, it's a highly regulated industry as well. So I think we get a bit of a bad rap when we talk around, how innovative our industry is, or, how technology plays a role. But I think there's got to be some level of respect for the regulation that kind of, underpins it. And so that's why we focus on the transparency and the ability to audit and control is really integral to the fundamental design principles of what we've created. Cytora has been around for quite some time. So, we have a great suite of clients that differ from where they operate within the industry, and even the size, scale, regions that they operate. And I should say all languages. So across all languages. So global clients, who want to create some level of continuity across, not just how they underwrite, but what they're underwriting, their appetite, etc. So, creates the efficiency, helps them think about their risks a bit different, and also creates the ability to, manage portfolios, which is always challenging because of the data and the, even within an underwriting team, me as an underwriter and you as an underwriter, we're in the same team. Different things mean different, different data points mean different things to us, and we might think about it different. So, it kind of creates a level of confidence that we're actually looking at the risk the way we're supposed to.
Yeah. And as you're saying, and as your title talks about global, you're everywhere. Like, you're all over. Is that a challenge to service clients all over the globe? Whenever you're talking about data, AI, underwriting, different losses, is that a big challenge?
So we have people we have people from Australia to Europe, UK, into the US. And I suppose when you think about the insurance industry, there are so many common threads through the whole industry. What changes is the regulatory environment. And then when you kind of overlay that with technology and AI, you have data regulation coming into the insurance regulation or the financial regulation. And so it's kind of, bringing all that together. But we have people in situ in those regions. And, I'm not saying that I know all the regulation that sits in those regions, but I have worked in most regions. So, can talk to, if I'm in Australia, I can talk to the Australian market with a level of confidence because I've worked in there. I've broked and underwritten in there. Same with UK, same way. So, I would also challenge, what does global actually mean today?
That is a good one. Why don't you help us understand exactly what you do as global head of strategic clients? Tell us, what does that mean? What are you doing there?
Predominantly managing the relationships. And when I talk about relationships, I talk about, those senior C-suite relationships, understanding where the business wants to grow, so where our clients want to grow, and thinking through how do we best partner with them to enable that growth. So kind of thinking beyond just the tech side. So what's the business problem we're solving for? And how does what we're doing play a role in enabling that? So my role in terms of, how I target my focus is really around the growth, retention, the long-term strategic value as we think around the journey and the path forward for Cytora, how that fits in with particular clients. I think the title itself should be more around global clients as opposed to global strategic clients.
Okay.
Because it is predominantly global clients I kind of am engaging with. I do an element of sales. So, sure. But again, it really is around bringing the insurance and the tech. I mean, the bit that I can bring together is I understand the insurance pain points within an insurance company and a broking company, and thinking through what role does tech play in that? Because I think, if we think about InsureTechs, I think if you kind of unpack it, or if you ask questions around, is it insurance people or tech people? They either go either or, and we want to do a bit of and. So, we really want to bring that insurance focus and tech obviously playing a massive part in solving for some of those problems. A lot of my role is around that, really distilling fundamental issues that, loss ratios. What is a loss ratio? How do you then translate that to the tech world? And kind of bringing all that together.
Do you consider yourself an and?
Predominantly, yeah. I'm not an either or. I mean, look, I'm very fortunate that I've kind of, got into the tech side because I can start understanding that. I mean, for me, that was a driver for me. How do I learn about the tech side without going full throttle into a tech company servicing the insurance industry? How do I think about both the end? I have a lot of way to go on the technology side because it is moving at a massively fast pace.
Right. Isn't technology changing even for technologists, right? So like if I was in technology, a coder or a builder 20 years ago, it's different today. You're doing different things, maybe even against what you learned those times. So what a great time to get in to the tech space because it is changing. It is changing.
It is. I mean, look, how often do you, I'll push the question back on you guys too, is how often do you use ChatGPT?
Fairly often. I'm a big fan.
Answer that question.
Compared to how you would have used Google, like as in like using the internet and going in and going, but now you're asking really thoughtful questions to ChatGPT, whereas before you'd go, what book can I get or where can I find this? It's a very different question set that you ask. And look, the hugely positive thing about this is it creates a huge level of curiosity, which I think is a massive positive trait for anybody to have.
Yeah. I agree. I think the way people are using technology nowadays, I guess I've been using it for almost 2 years now, but I no longer ask it to do things. I now ask it to challenge me, to elevate, to brainstorm, to help me think about what I haven't thought about. It's a whole different way. And people are starting to do that. And a lot of speakers and articles are written that people are changing. I still think you have a lot of young people who are like, hey, what's the answer to this question for my test? Which, I could talk for an hour on. Sure. But people are using it different. And people want more, just like your company. People want more than an answer. They don't just want to know, should I underwrite or should I not? They want to know, why should I underwrite it? What's the data? You talked about not being a black box. That's huge right now. People are longing for the why. Why am I doing this? Why is it making this decision? What input came in? It's so exciting. I mean, you're in it at just a great time. A great time.
And I think, to what you just said, Lee. I mean, it's not about the other thing for us, and it's an objective that I'd like to keep within certainly within how I think and how I engage with clients is around it's not about replacing. It's like, can we move away from that? It's around how do we help people perform better in their jobs to make it, more fun, to make it more interesting. And how do we, focus on, right. So not just about how do we solve for this problem, but what are the problems we're not thinking about? That the industry, if you think about the insurance industry, we talk about, the rates are going up and down, and like let's have a discourse around what are the risks, the risks that we're not seeing in front of us today, we don't have in our purview. And in my personal opinion, a lot of that is around the data. How are we synthesizing the data? How do we get the data in? Because if we think about, how we underwrite or how we used to underwrite previously, you'd look at the data specific to the risk you're underwriting. You're not looking at that ancillary data. And it's how do we capture all this? How do we bring in claims data? And how do we start growing the industry as opposed to focusing in on soft market, hard market? How do we write more business? How do we make it kind of, a bigger problem for us to solve jointly, as opposed to, that friction between companies. And I think this could lead to that ultimately. But we have a long way to go. But at least we're going in the right direction. And I think that is fantastic. And it's a great place to be right now.
Where are we now?
I agree.
In that,
I think the industry, if we think about the entire value chain, so I don't want to talk about, this is where clients, it's like if we talk about the whole ecosystem and the whole value chain of insurance, technology allows us to think about those problems together, as opposed to this is my lane, this is my lane, this is my lane. And everybody has their role, and we're so stuck in it that we end up causing friction within the value chain, as opposed to breaking down those barriers, going, look, these are things that are happening in the world. How do we get together and think about capital and not just on the transactional side of things? So for me, I don't know what those jobs may be, but I think maybe it's going to create new jobs, new roles, and new types of needs that we need for talent to come in. Whether it's talent from industry as opposed to coming up through the insurance industry. And technology will allow quicker onboarding, hopefully, if we can get out of our way.
You kind of reminded me of an article I had read written by a friend of the podcast, Astrid Mahol Bavari, if I said it right. I hope I did. She had written an article. She was in a meeting the other day, and a senior claims professional sat through an AI demonstration, a technology to show about automation. And the guy basically said, well, how is it going to make my people better at their job? And I think a lot of what we're looking at technology, the first thing you think is automation. How do I reduce? How do I save? How do I... And my brain has transformed to, how do I make the people the best that we can be? How do I give them the tools, the best tools to make the best decision, to delight my clients, to wow the clients? And then automation does happen automatically because I'm giving them the tools to use their knowledge to be the best that they can. And I feel like that's where the pendulum is. I feel like it started 2 years ago. Wow, this tool is going to do everything for me and I can sit back like Wally. But now it's coming around to say, well, how can I be the best? Maybe I can do more because I have a tool, but I can do better too. I can make better, more informed decisions. And I think that's where we are. That's my opinion.
I think that's a great place to be. I mean, it's interesting. Last year, I had taken some time out and I was, meeting with people in the market, and I met a few tech firms. And one stuck with me significantly because we got into a challenging conversation. And he said, the future is that technology will replace the insurer and the underwriter, I should say. And I remember saying, well, I don't think your company is for me because I don't see it that way. I think that role of the underwriter is going to be augmented, and it's actually going to change and become an even better role, a meatier role. And those, the administrative tasks are taken off and people can think about risk with more time on their hands. And equally, if you think around the legacy type of client relationship, I mean, it gets a bad rap. It becomes very administrative.
Yeah.
Relationships and having that skill is really, really important, because ultimately people do business with who they want to do business with. And you've got to, fundamentally, the underpinning thing is the relationship. Do you have a trusted and confident relationship with your client? And is it more of a partnership? So you take all the noise around the administration away, and we can start honing in on what does that skill look like? And how do we make that person better at what they're doing and better at their job, and it be, a more fun experience? And so I challenge the replacement. I think that's just it's almost a cheap dig rather than really being thoughtful.
I agree. I also think history repeats itself. Rob and I have been doing this podcast for a long, long time. And years before we started, technology came in and said, we're going to get rid of the insurance agent. The agent is not needed. We're getting rid of it. Good news. Technology's here. It's done. But what did we find? We find that people have a hard time buying insurance, and they want a trusted person they have a relationship with that they can trust. Right? I talked to a company not too long ago. They said, "Hey, we're getting rid of the adjuster. We're gonna get rid of it. They'll be there where they have to be for legal compliance, but we can automate 99% of what they do." I paraphrase, but we can automate pretty much all of it. But I think that's just repeating itself, just like the underwriter. Like, no, you don't have to get rid of the person. Let the person be great at what they do. Build the relationship, build the trust, use technology as a tool there.
The irony is with the agent, as an example. Today, I think the agent is stronger than they've ever been.
Stronger than they've ever been.
From they're going to be obsolesced to, indeed, even with more data being supplied and available, they're more important. Opposite.
Yeah. It also creates, the ability to innovate at a much more accelerated pace. And, I think both of you will agree that the industry gets, a bit of negative around the innovation, lack of innovation. You hear those terms thrown around so quickly. And I always take a step back and go, you really should think around what we're actually doing and what the industry actually does do for society. And when you think about these big events, insurance is there to make sure that companies and people can get back up pretty quickly. But I think technology will shift the industry in terms of that. Again, it goes back to talent, attracting a different type of talent because you're seen as innovative and forward thinking.
Yeah.
And also collaborative. Not just, when we think about reinsurance needs to stick here, insurers are here, brokers are here. It goes back to what I said previously. Like it's all that collaboration. Like, we have a problem to solve. How do we do this? But actually, how can we do it at a quicker pace? And if you think about some of those, tragic events we've been faced with and how the industry has responded so quickly to all those events, now it can even do so, even quicker. And then get on and do more. So again, it frees up capacity. It thinks about talent very differently. And I think it takes away those administrative tasks that, is a bugbear for all of us. I think we think that it's fun, and then we go, no, it's not.
Maybe it's not.
No.
And Trey, we were talking before the podcast about how it is projected that a large portion of the talent in the industry will be retiring soon. They'll be leaving. They'll be moving on. And technology is a great tool that we're going to be able to use as we bring new people into the industry. Maybe they don't have to know all the administrative things and this, this is on yellow and that's on blue and this is on green. But they can talk to people, and we can teach about empathy, and we can teach about the overall impact of the industry. Technology is going to be a great use there.
I think, though, the question that we need to pose to ourselves is, and again, I think we touched on it prior as well, is how do we get hold of the IP that's in some of these people's, they've been doing it for 30 or 40 years. It would be remiss of us to just let that walk away. Now, I don't have an answer, but it is something that we need to kind of think about together as an industry, because some of the things they've seen within our industry, and we talk about hard markets, soft markets, and all of that, and all the events that have taken place, those world events that have taken place, and the things that we don't know that they've just seen. That's what I'd love to solve for, is how do we almost get a download of all that IP and start thinking about, wow, this could be a great learning for others. And I think that's part of perhaps this, since COVID, the remote has almost slowed that down, the remote working, because in my opinion, and I've had the fortunate experience of sitting alongside people who've been doing what I've been doing for a very long time. And now I'm in that unfortunate place where I've been nearly 30 years. But sitting alongside those people and just by osmosis, just hearing what they're saying, and you're like, wow, okay, that's a different way to look at things. And I think if we can use technology to take some of that, maybe that's an answer. I don't know what the answer is, but I think collectively we should think about that as we think about, the retirement age, and, in the next 10 years, we're going to see the figures change daily, whether it's 30 to 40% or whatever is going to leave. But again, what's the type of talent we need coming in?
I keep thinking about how we focus right now on AI, but we need to focus on human intelligence, right? The AI can read, it can ingest data, it can do all this, but how do we get the knowledge transferred to the people so they know what happened in these events over all these years that make us do things we do today because of experience? Data. That's something that AI doesn't have that, right? So we got to...
Yeah. But the data, AI can help us with the data. And
100%.
And that's the bit that time. We have a lot of data. Just happens to be lying in everybody's, desk or in their notepad.
Yeah. Hey, Rob, guess what?
What's that, Lee?
I got my bag all packed. I'm ready.
Your bag packed? Why?
I got my backpack, man. We're going to ITC London. It's almost time. I'm excited. What can I say? I'm excited. We're going to pack, we're going to go, and we're going to be ready. January 26th and 27th, we're going to be over in London at ITC London. Can't wait to see all of our friends, executives from around the country, around the world. They're all going to be there. Can't wait to do it.
We were there last year. It was fabulous. We hope to see you there this year. Cheers.
Cheers.
Tracy, you've had a very interesting career path around, in and around the insurance industry. You've been with some large companies. You've worked all over the world, which is such an exciting thing. And one of the things that I really want to ask you about is your time at AIG. You were the global head of crisis management within the AIG family in 2008. I would think that if there was one office that there was like smoke coming out of the doors at that point in time, it had to be crisis management. It was a terrible time, a tough time. What kind of reminiscence can you share with us about your work at that time?
So just to make clear, I was a global head of crisis management on underwriting.
Okay.
So not on crisis management within
overall crisis management.
Yeah. So I joined AIG around September 15th, 2008. I'd left Aon. And I was in Australia. So obviously we get the news first. And then it comes dripping in. But I think, in Australia, that's where I started within AIG in 2008. And obviously we went through the change to charters. And look, there was certainly a nervousness. I would be lying if I said there wasn't, because I didn't, sitting in Australia, you don't have a line of, well, I certainly at that point didn't have a line of sight of the tentacles that AIG as a huge, huge company had tentacles to all parts of the globe, all parts of the financial system. And when you're sitting, so far away from all of that, it's hard to see that. But I remember thinking, I had this moment of, wow, what do I do? I mean, and Aon were fantastic. And I remember getting a call from my former boss going, hey, the door's always open if this, and I thought, well, with a title like crisis management, it really would be pretty bizarre if I stepped away, because I underwrite this as a job. And now I'm going, no. So for me, it was an opportune time, because I think you have to really, you have to work with clients a lot more and a lot harder. And I would say during that time, competitors were out basically with their clipboards saying, yeah, we'll write it. And we had to work hard. We had to really work hard to retain business. At the time, the CEO in Australia was phenomenal. So I worked pretty closely with him in terms of, because obviously clients that I was insuring, this was a big part of, their risk. And crisis management encompassed product recall, which is malicious tamper, kidnap and ransom, terrorism, political risk. And if you think about big food clients, their biggest risk is recall. And their biggest risk was placed with AIG. So there was a challenge to us around, are you going to be there? Like, are you solvent? And of course, there are financial rules and regulations around solvency. So there was a lot of, the underwriting was almost the easy part. It was a lot of standing in front of a client and persuading them that, this was the right place for them to insure their business. And your integrity was challenged for the right reasons. But, following Australia, I then moved to New York and took on the global role. And that was, pretty challenging. And I'm sure you'd hear this from other AIG alumni. Back then, it was, the learning experience is one I will never be able to get. And the people I worked with, when you talk around knowledge, like the people I worked with, I can say those names within the market and everybody knows them because, back then AIG was a very, very strong company within the insurance industry, almost set the tone for the industry in terms of how we should be looking at risks, all those challenging risks. But it was, for me, just personally, nothing, about the company, but it was more around walking to work and seeing the noise and the reporters. And that's a very different environment, to walk to work in, where it's about the company you're working for. But I would say there was a lot of things unknown. So, perception's reality, unfortunately, and kind of is what it is. But, I was fortunate that the people I worked with and the coming together of, both the international and the home office under, crisis management was hugely beneficial in terms of what we did. But massive learning curve. I'd be very open in saying I sometimes question whether I was, whether I had enough experience to be in that role in terms of in that environment, or whether I could have done with a bit more of challenging environments through my career to actually be in that role. But then I came away going, well, if I can do this, I can do anything.
Yeah, exactly. I think a lot of us will look back and say, what if I had this knowledge? But the amount of knowledge that you gained, right? It's this alumni club that you're a part of, especially around that time period, that if you're like, oh, yeah, I was at AIG back then, you're like, oh, well, your mind explodes. You're like, oh, okay, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I think that's just absolutely amazing.
And it was fun.
But I would imagine it was a roller coaster of emotions, I would imagine.
Yeah. Because also it was at the time of, we had Somali piracy, we had all of this, and obviously I did K&R, and then you had all those malicious tampers, and all of that was under my remit. And at the same time, you're convincing that AIG is the best place for it, because also we had capital. So there was a lot of, you guys know this, there's a lot that, people hear about, but they don't understand that we need to be solvent. If we're not solvent, we don't, so there's a bit where you can get level of frustration that you're going, no. If like the lights go out, if we're not, that's not going to happen.
Yeah.
But then
Yeah.
there's such an emotional tie to what people hear in public. And look, the other thing I'd say about it is it's character building, but it's certainly set the tone for how I think about building trust and confidence, that a lot of it lies on an individual, not just, I mean, obviously you're umbrellaed by the company and that's really important in the culture you sit within. But it's about you as well, because clients want to look in your eyes and go, are you going to pay my claim?
Right. Mm-hmm. And see how you respond to that question.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So there is a bit of a reality to it, but I would never not have done it.
It's amazing to me that, with all the technology, with all everything, that it kind of comes down to that moment, right? Between two people. Hey, can I count on you?
Yeah. You're so right. So I have a funny anecdote about that where I was at an event and I was speaking on a panel, and there was another AI firm and they're talking around how they can, and that's why I said to you, we don't underwrite the risk. We ingest the data. We make everything right for, in terms of how that underwriter views risk. It does not take away the fact that they need to have a conversation. Like, to your point, Rob, that still needs to happen. But it was interesting that this firm kind of challenged me around, well, we can do everything. It can go straight to bind. And they're like, going, give me an example. And I was going, okay. And they're going, so we've received an email in. I said, no, it's a phone call. Oh, okay. And they asked me to build that scenario. And they're going, so it's $10 million limit. And I said, yeah, but it's a quota share on top of a 5. And they're going, so what do you mean? I'm going, it's not as linear as you think. So many conversations happen externally. It's not about bypassing the technology. It's just understanding that technology has a significant role and can play a significant role, but it does not eliminate those conversations. It really doesn't.
Is this part of the
so true.
Kind of gets to the talent issue that exists, and something that we talked to in our pre-call before this episode about. Lee and I used to ask people earlier on in the podcast, are you an insurance service provider, or are you a tech company? And almost every time the answer was, we're a tech company serving the insurance industry, right? But what I hear you saying, or what I'm thinking, listening to both of you talk, is that we're in the process of kind of forming a new talent pool, insurance talent pool, one that is savvy on both sides, right? Mm-hmm. It's almost like a new career path, and of sorts. Do you see it that way?
Yeah. I mean, if we think about, all of our careers within the industry, we've had great moments of freedom and autonomy to have an opinion, to really give our view of what we think. And, I'm certainly have been fortunate in that. And if we think about that environment, it will bring a lot of talent in from the tech world to think differently around insurance. It's not just come in and this is what you do in a very linear way. But I do think it's like anything. You've got to know your client. You've got to know what. And again, we've heard this in our careers, and we've had long careers, the three of us here. We've heard it in our careers. What keeps you up at night? Like talking to a CEO or a C-suite, and being able to go, what, and not being afraid to go, what is it? But also understanding what they say as it applies to their business. That's really important. And if you kind of gel both of them, but I think that onboarding needs to be designed. So if someone has obviously a tech background, how do we get them up to speed with the insurance knowledge and the industry knowledge? And certainly when I started, the best thing I did was the Lloyd's exam. Didn't take too long, but it was great. And you get into Lloyd's and you can walk around Lloyd's, and look, it doesn't necessarily have technology and AI, but I remember being turned away from a Lloyd's box saying, you don't know your client enough. You go back and learn, and you go, okay, I need to learn about the risk a bit better.
Oh man.
Wow.
way back when.
Wow.
Way back when. I know that we're real close to time here. I just have a question for this is a me question that maybe some people will know. You're an underwriter, right? At your core. How does a person become an underwriter?
Oh God.
If somebody today wanted to be an underwriter, and I don't think there's enough glory out there for the underwriters. Like a lot of people don't understand just how important they are. But they are, and I don't even know how would a person today like do they go to school? Is there a graduate degree for underwriting, or is it that you just join a box at Lloyd's and as an apprentice? How does a person start?
So there are more and more risk management degrees. Now, off the top of my head, and I remember this back in the day, was Temple University had a good risk management course. And I know because it was the most surprising thing I heard when I moved to New York back in 2009, and I had someone on my team and they had done a degree in risk management in Temple, and I was going, "What? That exists?
Really?"
Look, for me personally, I the old cliche of I suppose I fell into it in some regards, but I went from broking to underwriting back to broking. But I think there are courses out there. I do believe that there are, I think our apprenticeship programs have improved significantly over the years. But it's also, how do you access those students? Like how can we better access students who not just are thinking about the insurance world, but are thinking about tech. So should we be, I know some firms, it's interesting. There was one Lloyd syndicate that I know of who have set up an office next to Boston University because they want that type of talent to be coming in and thinking differently around risk and around, how they operate as a business.
Yeah.
But in the UK, graduate programs, all of them are just so important. And I think a lot of it is, it goes back to what we said earlier, as you think about those underwriters that are ready to move on from where they're at. And we should be thinking collectively around how do we take that information and are there learning courses that we should start designing around underwriting? Is it an art or a science? The old debate will continue. But I think technology will play a lot of it in that. And also the data, because right now the data is pretty disparate. I think if we have more data, people can learn a lot quicker. But, I think bringing tech people in and bringing industry people in is going to be really important. And we should probably be more open to that, because if you think about career, and I've been through it personally, where they'll go, so you're on the insurance side. So have you ever worked in reinsurance? I'm going, it's pretty much the same thing, but it's just on the next, it's still risk. And we get so caught up in, so you haven't ticked everything. So you've done broking. Have you done wholesale broking? You're going, isn't it just, okay.
Yeah. What do I not know here?
Exactly. So we need to kind of, get over ourselves and think broadly around
I agree.
How we can open it up. And look, that will lead to something that I'm personally very passionate about, is the brand of the industry. This industry has afforded me so much opportunity to work in so many places around the world with great people in different, parts of the industry, from MGA to insurer to now InsureTech. The industry's great. And I don't think we're doing a good enough job of, lifting up the brand and bringing in more people.
I'm mostly retired now, but I loved my time in this industry. I don't have a single complaint about it. And, and I think in many ways that still exists. It's even broader now. It's wider and deeper than, when I started, and more interesting and intriguing. I mean, what do you think the brand needs?
I think we do have a bit of a way to go in terms of how we think about our talent, and the diverse nature of our talent. I think diversity in thought, diversity in industry background, like diversity is such a big word.
Yeah.
And so is, culture. We talk around, and it's not just our industry, talks around culture, and this is a good culture. Whereas I think this is about people working together. It's about caring for success. It's around how do we drive things differently? And culture is the overarching kind of umbrella word, but it's everything that lies underneath that needs to, I feel it needs to improve. I don't think we have enough time to unpack everything, but if you think about where the industry is now and some of what's in the public domain, we have work to do, and we have a bit of, just cleaning up the house, but also educating, new talent that we want to come in on things that the industry has done in terms of whether it's the wildfires in California, whatever it is, how the industry has actually stood up and helped society in a way that is just so wonderful. And we come together in those instances, but we need to do a better job of getting that out into, the public or into, the forums where, younger individuals are coming into the workplace and they have knowledge of what our industry does, other than insuring the car they just bought. Like, how do we get them thinking differently?
I love that.
In our next episode with you, we'll continue.
Car insurance.
That's right.
Should we buy it?
We'll keep unpacking.
Tracy, we'd get her out of here today, and look what we've done. We've just gone on and on.
We really appreciate the conversation. That was wonderful.
No, thank you. This has been great. You're very good hosts. It's very natural.
Well, thank you.
Thank you. You do it 300 times, you get a little good at it, or less bad.
Less bad. We'll go with that. Less bad.
Okay,
yeah,
listen,
good for you
so
guys.
Much, and please, sometime in the future, come back again.
Thank you very much for the opportunity. I really enjoyed the conversation.
Sometimes we have guests on who are very informative about very specific things, and sometimes we have people on that are remarkable professionals with a long history. And today was that day.
Today was that day.
To have her as part of the FNO
alumni
is what a huge professional in our industry.
It was so much fun geeking out with her over technology, the future of technology, the uses of technology, what we're doing and how we're going to do it. I had a blast visiting with her, but just we are so grateful for Tracy to be on today and to share her knowledge. What a great career that she has had. A lot of life lessons kind of dropped in there. For all of you who are listening today who are implementing technology into your space, she brought some really important things about making the human better and not just going around them, using them, a lot of great things. So really appreciate her being on today.
Yeah, it was fabulous. And we appreciate all you for listening to us once again. And
hey, one more thing, Grob. One more thing. I want to say something.
Yeah.
For those of you who have not made up your mind yet, you got to get to ITC London. You got to get to ITC London. We're going to be there. It's going to be a great time. So if you've not done it yet, go to ITC London's website and sign up. We hope to see you there. We can't wait to see you.
We hope to see you there because we will be there.
We will be there. We will be there. We might even be doing a few interviews. So if you're excited about being interviewed and you want to talk about your company and what you do, come find us. Come find us. We'll be the
pint. We'll be having a pint.
Yeah. We'll be the random guys who are having a pint at the middle of an insurance conference. 9 a.m. in the morning. Get us all the way, right?
So until next time, we'll just say
goodbye, everybody.